Hello, everybody. I'm Brittany Castro, certified financial planner, here with Latina Professionals for a live. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for people to join us live. And we're going to talk about how the wealthy use life insurance and different financial strategies. So definitely want to take some notes today. But if you're joining live, feel free to comment. Tell me where you're joining from. I am in Los Angeles. It's actually quite a beautiful day outside, not too hot, not too cold, not too windy. So it's a really nice way to head into the holiday season. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes. So definitely want to make sure people are joining in, settling in, get your notepad out, pin out. You're going to want to take some notes because I'm going to go over a lot of great strategies that you definitely need to know about. All right. So excited to be here with Latina professionals for this LinkedIn Live. Very cool. Actually, I've worked with LinkedIn before in many different facets, been posting on LinkedIn for years. Actually built a huge part of my network in the beginning of my career from LinkedIn. So I think it's just like a perfect full circle to be partnering with them, Latina professionals, here today to talk about financial and life insurance strategies that can help you create wealth, build wealth, and protect the wealth that you do have. And especially as we go into the holiday season, I was thinking more about that. Like, this is such a great time to have those conversations with your loved ones around protection, make sure things are all in place because we never know. And we want to definitely take care of ourselves and our loved ones and our assets along the way. So if you're joining live, welcome. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. I'm Brittany Castro, certified financial planner, here today with Latina professionals for this LinkedIn Live to teach you many different strategies around life insurance. This is a protection focused topic to make sure you have the right protection in place for you and your family. And if you're joining live, definitely comment. Comment if you're on the live stream. Tell me where you're coming from, tuning in from. That's always so exciting to see where people are joining in from all over the world. I am in Los Angeles, which is wonderful. It's a beautiful day outside. Very excited to have this be the holiday week. Thanksgiving, family. It's a great actually timing of this conversation around protection and life insurance. All right, I think let's get started. It's been a few moments, so I want to honor everybody's time. And if you're catching this later, great. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brittany Castro, and I'm a certified financial planner. I've actually been in the industry 15 years, worn many different hats over the years, but I've worked with clients in a private financial planning relationship pretty much the whole time, in addition to having brand partnerships and consulting with financial companies like Chase, Mint, Intuit, TurboTax, etc., to create financial literacy campaigns to educate people about money, about wealth, about especially in the Hispanic markets, how to create wealth, how to build and protect it along the way. Hello, New Jersey. I see you there. Nice to see you. So I've had the privilege, I guess, of working with a lot of people in their financial life. So I've seen a lot. And as a certified financial planner, I've been able to use my skills, my knowledge, to apply different strategies to everybody's unique situation. And I think that's very important. I'm definitely going to talk about strategies the wealthy use in relation to life insurance. But at the end of the day, we all are unique in the sense that we have our unique personality with money, goals with money, behaviors with money, financial needs and wants. So all of that needs to always be embedded into the conversation, whether it's with life insurance or investing or saving and budgeting, because it plays a part. And there's no one way to do anything. Unfortunately, it would be nice if there was just like a standard template that we all follow, but that's not usually how it goes. There's a template that we start with, but then it has to be customized to you and your specific situation. So I take all of that knowledge, that experience over 15 years working with thousands of people in their financial journeys, and I'm bringing it to you today because I really want everybody to understand that even if a strategy is something that you're not actually implementing today, it's good to be aware of it. It's good to strive for those things in your financial life, to even be opened up to all these different maybe tips or tools or strategies that maybe you didn't grow up with, maybe you didn't learn in school, maybe you didn't have the experience of being around. So I think that's another part in your financial journey, is to always educate yourself, because it is a subject really we all have to learn and keep learning and keep refining along our entire lives. Money is always going to be there, right? We always have to deal with money, and sometimes things change in your personal life, with your career, with your business, with the economy, and all of that is part of the ongoing financial planning. So I think that's very important, to just commit to a lifelong journey of learning. And even if something's not like something you're going to implement today, maybe 5 years from now, maybe next year, maybe 6 months from now. So it's always good to just learn. So today specifically, we're going to be talking about life insurance, and more also about like how the wealthy view and think about life insurance, because I think that's important to overcome any myths or roadblocks or obstacles um, preventing you from having the life that you want, financially speaking. And a lot of times I find that people just don't understand something. They've never been around a life insurance strategy, so they don't know there's something as permanent life insurance that they could get to protect themselves and their family and leave a legacy of tax-free benefits behind. So today I want to talk about that. What is life insurance? What is term? What is permanent? How do you choose which one's best for you? Then talk about maybe getting life insurance for your kids, and why you would even consider that. And then finally, we'll just look at just different reasons why people get life insurance. One is for generational wealth, because life insurance is one of the only assets that will pass tax-free to your beneficiaries pretty immediately. So that's a beautiful thing to know about, to think about, to maybe get in your financial life. So give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Just had to make sure my sound was good. So life insurance, again, it sometimes feels maybe overwhelming or confusing. And I think the biggest reason is because it's addressing death, and that's not comfortable for people to talk about. It's not comfortable for people to think about their own mortality. And even though we know this is part of life, this is part of the cycle of life, birth and death, to talk about it and talk about what types of life insurance, it can bring up a lot of those emotions. So I think that's one thing, just to remember that even if it's uncomfortable, hang in there, have those conversations, because nowadays I'm seeing so many people pass away with no life insurance in place. And I think this is even higher in the Hispanic communities, because it's just not really, part of other countries like financial strategy. But here in the US, it is. So I've seen more GoFundMe campaigns for funeral expenses, final expenses, online, ways for families to raise money to pay for a funeral for their loved one that just passed away. And there's definitely no judgment around any of that. However, I just want to make sure people know there's another option. Life insurance is something that you get mainly for your loved ones, right? We get it because we love somebody or owe somebody. Because when you die, your debts don't die. So you never want to leave behind financial obligations to people you love. Maybe you have a spouse or dependents, or maybe you're single. Someone's going to have to be responsible to inherit the debt or liabilities, or just continue living expenses. So you want to protect your loved ones, right? You work so hard to make money, to build assets. You want to be able to protect that when you pass away. So the different types of life insurance are really just dependent upon what stage of life you're in, what goals you have. I would say Term insurance is often what people, know the most, I guess. So term insurance I would describe as what you get through work. That would be group term, meaning if you're covered at a job and they say, you know what, you're going to get $50,000 of life insurance, or, 1 times your salary of life insurance, that's going to cover you for that term that you work at that job. Now, if you left, retired or quit or got fired, the life insurance doesn't go with you. Now, you do sometimes have the option to convert it into an individual policy, but that would require you actually that as an option, and you actually complete that option to convert it. So most people go out and eventually get their own term insurance. And I'm an insurance broker, so I work with like 15 different companies. And if someone comes to me, I say, okay, what are the goals and needs with your life insurance coverage? And let's make sure we talk about which type is going to be best. So if a client needs term, or they need a lot of insurance, I might say a bulk in term and maybe some in a permanent. That's what I call a hybrid strategy. But term is really covering you for a specific period of time, 10 years, 15, 20, 30. If I have $1 million, which I do, $1 million life insurance, 30-year term policy, if I pass away in that 30 years, the beneficiary on my life insurance policy gets $1 million. And by the way, this death benefit goes to the beneficiary you have on your policy pretty immediately. And I know this because firsthand experience. I've seen it. I've seen it in family, my own family, seen it in client situations. That life insurance check gets written to the beneficiary, and it's tax-free inheritance. I mean, assuming there's no big estate issues or state tax stuff. So that's pretty amazing, because think about other assets, real estate, stock market portfolios, such as like a 401k or IRA. Those things are obviously available to beneficiaries, but it's going to take some time to sell a house, right? You're not just going to sell a house right away. Usually it's going to take some time, or liquidate the 401k. That takes some time. So life insurance is pretty quick. Like I've seen it get to a family member within 7 days of them filing the death claim. So that term life insurance is usually cheaper than a permanent policy because it's only covering you for a specific amount of time. And actually, historically, I believe 95% of term policies never pay out, meaning it's pretty much a moneymaker for the insurance company. And the reason is because people outlive the term, which is a good thing, right? But I always think like, hey, if you needed it during that time of your life, maybe your kids, maybe you have dependents, debts, at least you have this coverage so that, hey, if anything, God forbid, did happen, you're going to be okay, right? Your family's going to be okay. And if not, all right, now you got through all those years of where you needed a lot of coverage, and now you're on the other side. Hello, Kimberly from Los Angeles. Good to see you. So this is why term insurance is viewed often as like, hey, let's just get term life insurance, because it's usually cheapest and it's going to cover you for that specific term period. Then there's something called whole life, which sometimes in the insurance industry, they call this final expense. But basically, whole life is just a permanent insurance policy. So with permanent insurance, whole life and indexed universal life, which I'm sell both of those too. So I'm a believer in both of them, and assuming, where you're at in your financial life and situation. But these don't expire. So like term is going to expire in 10 years, 30 years. Permanent whole life or indexed universal life doesn't. So most of the times these policies are now written to age 120 because the longevity of people is that much higher. They're written out to have coverage last until that long. Now with these types of policies, let's start with the whole life. You're going to put a little bit more. So I always say like you're committing more per month in a premium or for the cost, because at some point it is going to pay out, right? Like at some point the beneficiary is going to get that death benefit. Unlike a term where you don't know, you might not ever have any benefit from that term insurance. So with a whole life, you're going to pay more. The death benefit's still tax-free, which is great. And some of this money might go into a fixed account inside the policy and earn a little bit of credit every year. And eventually you might be able to like take some money from that credit or have it pay the premiums. It's usually not like building a whole lot of cash value unless you're putting in a lot more than the required minimum per year. But at least it's permanent. Some of these policies do have living benefits on it. So that's something to explore depending on the carrier and the product. I would say a majority though, if you're like 50 and under, most of the time we're looking at term or index universal life or a combination of both. Hello, Jessica from Texas. Nice to see you. So with an index universal life, this is one thing I want people to understand. It's like another way to protect yourself, your assets, and possibly get tax-free cash value during your lifetime. That a lot of wealthy people use this, right? A lot of wealthy people use index universal life because at some point they're maxed out of their 401k. They can no longer contribute anymore. They're already putting the max. There's, a regular brokerage account that they can invest money in, but they also need life insurance. So then they think, oh, well, I'm going to just get an index universal life. It's a permanent insurance policy. Eventually it's going to pay out to somebody. Some of these policies, again, have living benefits, which you can use during your lifetime if you needed it for one of those qualifying events. And then every month you're paying that premium, but some of the premium goes into the sub account. And instead of it only getting a fixed credit, now it's going to get like a credit based on the index. So you can choose like the S&P index. There's a floor, there's a cap, meaning you'll never get negative and you're never going to get the full S&P rate of return. But within this healthy range, I usually say like 6-7% average annual return. That gets basically it starts growing inside of this sub account and it grows tax deferred, and maybe down the road 10 years, 20 years, you can take from that as a tax-free loan. Now, I've seen this work with clients, so I know it's possible if you do it right. Okay. That is key. You got to do it right. You got to make sure you can afford this life insurance for the long haul. It's kind of like buying a house, right? You got to commit to that mortgage before you're even talking about equity in the house. Okay. You got to think like it's a long-term strategy on buying buying a home, kind of the same. You got to commit to that mortgage and then you'll start to build some cash value, and that cash value is something you could potentially take from, depending on the situation of the cash value growth, etc., down the road. So this is another way to build assets and get life insurance. I would never suggest this for somebody who doesn't need life insurance unless they're really just like, hey, I want another place to fund money that's going to give tax benefits, right? So a lot of high net worth or high income earners, once you start looking at taxes, you're just looking all possible ways to save on taxes. Okay. So when I talk about wealthy people, I'm thinking like, you can define it as you will, but high income earners, right? People who have money, people have money every year, they're trying to save on taxes, or they have assets, million, plus of assets that they're trying to make sure pass to the next generation. This is where you begin to look at complex strategies and different even just types of insurance is going to last past 20 years. So I know a lot of CFPs or financial planners will say, buy term and invest the difference. And while I completely understand where they're coming from, not every client is going to buy term and invest the difference, because a lot of clients still want and need permanent life insurance. They want to leave behind life insurance eventually. So term is going to expire. So that's not true for everybody. That's why I always say money is an art just as much as a science, and what works for someone doesn't work for the other person. So that's why it's important to work with a trusted professional who could guide you and say, okay, this client, I've done this one over here is a different strategy, right? Depending on the situation. But index universal life is a great strategy if you need and want permanent life insurance and have the ability to, build some cash value. So like I said, I actually do a lot of hybrid strategies. So for example, like maybe clients in their 30s and 40s, they need a lot of insurance at that time. Maybe they get a bulk of what they need, let's say $1 million in a term life insurance, and then a portion, 500,000, 250,000 in an index universal life. So they eventually that term is going to go away, but they'll keep this permanent index universal life for the long haul. So some things to consider when you're like, well, what type of insurance do I need? Contact a broker, someone like me who will help you, guide you, get you the best coverage based on what you need. Works with different carriers, so it's not just selling you one specific company's product. But one, you want to figure out how much life insurance do you need, right? And then do you want to provide a legacy? So again, sometimes I've worked with clients who have assets, real estate, business, and they still want a life insurance policy to leave more money, right? They want to leave a legacy to their child. They want to give another $1 million to the next generation tax free. This is the way to do it, guys. Then you got to ask yourself, well, how much can you commit to every month? How much can you afford in a premium payment? Maybe you split it up in that hybrid strategy that I talked about to keep the cost down, but to get the bulk, get your coverage needs met. Do you want living benefits? So certain products have living benefits on them, even term products. So maybe you're going to pay a little bit more for a term product to get those living benefits than a term product that doesn't have it, right? Do you want the ability to convert? So also with term life insurance, you got to look, is there a conversion option? Meaning like if you were to decide to convert some of that or all of that to a permanent, maybe an index universal life or a whole life before the term ends, there's like, requirements of when you got to do it. Is that possible? Right? So that might be helping you with cash flow now, but realizing 5 years from now, you want to convert a portion or all of it to a permanent when your cash flow is better and you could commit to those higher premiums. So there's so many different things to look at, consider, but everybody needs life insurance, really. I mean, even wealthy people who don't necessarily need to like leave behind money, they then think like, oh, I need life insurance to give my beneficiaries tax-free money or to pay for the estate taxes, that are due on my huge estate. So life insurance has many reasons. I helped a lot of clients recently get life insurance for their parents, right? And they're going to help pay for those premiums to make sure their parents are covered. Or vice versa. I've helped parents get life insurance on their kids, which we're going to talk about. So the financial goals and needs for life insurance are plenty. And it's just dependent upon everything else you're working on, right? We always want to have a cash cushion, pay off our debt, maybe saving for a home, down payment or wedding, of course, retirement, and then college for kids. So with a financial plan, I always like to do when I was working with financial planning clients for 15 years, I would do like a 1-page financial plan, which is basically this. So here's gold for you right here. Keep it simple. I think in life, especially now, it's a lot happening all the time. So the more we can simplify, especially with money, the easier it is to make decisions that are going to be good for us. So every month we all have a number. This is the number we have to work with. Income coming in. Where does it go? It goes to our bills. And then we want to use some of that for our different goals. We have our cash cushion goal. Maybe you're working on debt repayment. You got all your insurance, home, auto, disability, life insurance, which is what we're talking about today, and long-term care insurance if you're like older. Then we have our short-term goals, such as a home down payment, wedding, travel, car, and then our long-term goals of retirement, real estate, and businesses. So, I mean, this is a lot, right? Well, this is, again, the art of money. We all have a lot we got to use our money for, and it's how do we strategically divvy up our money in the most efficient way so that we are saving, we're protecting, we're investing, and growing our financial lives and foundation over time. All right. So once we kind of explore that, then another thing to ask yourself, which a lot of wealthy people do, is do you want to get life insurance for your kids? So what would be the benefit of that? Well, I actually just talked to someone recently, a few weeks ago. I had a conversation with a guy who was a very successful business owner. He said, look, I got my cash value life insurance in place years ago. It's amazing. I love it. I think every business owner should get it because it's another way to build assets, and they grow tax deferred in the in the life insurance account. And I could pull from it later in life if I wanted as a cash, it's a tax-free loan. And I also got one for my son. And I said, oh, interesting. I would love to hear more. So he told me that, yeah, this made so much sense to him that he wanted to get one for his son. So when you get life, and I was pleasantly, I guess I was just like happy to hear that, because oftentimes I think people don't understand strategy. So they immediately just like say no more. I don't get that strategy. I don't want to do the strategy, instead of actually taking the time to learn. So in this case, I was happy to hear that he got life insurance, not only for him, but realized the value of it and got it on his son. So he basically told me a lot of these things, which I already knew, but it was great to hear. He said, look, it was guaranteed coverage. It was low cost because I was locking in the premiums at that age. So depending on the company, there's going to be like different age. Sometimes it's like you can write them as soon as they're born. Sometimes you have to wait a few years to get them coverage, and it usually goes to like 17 or 18 years old. So you're locking in those low premiums, right? So you're going to be, as a parent, paying the premiums for your child's life insurance policy. But then down the road, let's say maybe you give that policy now to your kids. So you transfer ownership now to them once they're hopefully like financially responsible and able to make those payments. And then they keep it for the rest of their life. So they've got this life insurance policy at a young age. They locked in the premiums at that rate. Then you pass it to them, I don't know, 18, 25, whenever they can commit to making those payments, and they keep it for the rest of life. So it's a very affordable. And I think the biggest selling point is that you're just basically guaranteeing they have coverage. So if anything happened down the road, they already had this life insurance policy. It's guaranteed at that, rating that they have the policy for. So it is a good strategy. I would think like maybe this isn't the first one you go to. I always say like put on your own face mask first, right? So meaning you want to like protect yourself first, make sure you're taken care of. And then from there, how do you give more to your children? Generational wealth, also life insurance plays a huge part in generational wealth. The death benefit on a life insurance policy can actually be used to pay for estate tax or just preserve assets. So I've seen this with business owners. Like sometimes business owners, this may be like a business strategy versus generational wealth, but like business owners get life insurance on each other. So if anything were to happen to them, they can buy the partner out with the life insurance death benefit, or buy the family out with the life insurance death benefit. I've seen it where a client just wants to leave another million behind to the children, and then they realize life insurance is like one of the easiest ways to do it, as long as they get approved and keep it alive, because it's tax-free money that goes to the beneficiaries upon passing. And it avoids probate because you have a beneficiary labeled and all of that. Also, the death benefit, just, I know I keep saying it, but it literally is tax-free if you do this correctly, and there's no estate tax. It passes income tax-free to beneficiaries. So if it's $100,000, $100,000 is going to go to the beneficiary tax-free. This is like the only place that doesn't tax, even after death. I don't know if you realize, but a 401k is going to get taxed if that account owner was never taxed on the funds. If it's like a pre-tax 401k. Real estate, sometimes you have to think about, okay, they could sell the house, but maybe there's going to be capital gains taxes that you would have to worry about. So life insurance is pretty much like one of the only areas that you can leave behind tax-free money, which is huge. And so, again, how do wealthy people keep money and pass it? By doing strategies like this. So I know we covered a lot, and I think like this conversation is really meant to help educate you, inspire you, motivate you to take the next step, which would be, you can scan this right now. If you have a phone, even you could pause it if you're watching the replay, but literally you can scan this barcode from your phone. I'm going to show you how to do it. You just scan it, pull up the link, and that's going to be all of my information. So here you're going to see a life insurance free review call. Okay. So it's going to be the life insurance planning call. click that, schedule your complimentary call with me today. We usually spend about 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, depending. And I listen to what is it that you're trying to do with life insurance, where are you at financially, and then I'll give you some preliminary strategies, and then hopefully I can help you, and we'll, schedule the next meeting to show you options and get you applied for life insurance. So it's very straightforward. Really, I'm here to guide you the whole way. Even if you have life insurance, this is a huge, huge, huge. If you have life insurance, you still have to review it. Okay, I sold life insurance in the first part of my career, referred it out in the second part of my career. Now I'm selling it again. The products have changed tremendously. Even within the last 5 years, I would say products have been updated. Applications are now done online. Medical underwriting's most of the time so much easier, seamless. A lot of times, if you're under a certain age, you don't even have to do medical underwriting. Some insurance companies can approve you on the spot. It is dramatically different. So even if you have life insurance, you need to review it, because every few years, it's good just to make sure beneficiaries are updated and correct. You have the right coverage, you're funding it at the right level. But I cannot tell you how many times I look at a policy and I'm like, oh, this is going to expire if you don't do anything. Or this term that you were sold is actually increasing term. So what they didn't tell you is that the premiums are increasing. It's not level term, which hopefully most of you have level term. Or you might say, okay, I actually need more life insurance, or now I could afford permanent life insurance. I just got myself an updated permanent life insurance. And even though I was older and had some things in my medical record, I got approved, and it's a wonderful policy, just also because of the difference of the marketplace right now with life insurance. So it's very important to review. Even if you have life insurance, schedule this review call. I would say that is the best next step. We're approaching the holiday season. Thanksgiving is coming up. Holidays are coming up. Really, it's a great gift to give your loved ones, to that like ease and peace of mind that you have life insurance to pay for your funeral expenses, final expenses, to not leave them worse off financially, to give them enough money to sustain their lifestyle. It's such a good gift. It's such a beautiful gift. And I truly believe everybody wants that, but because they don't get the right things in place, like life insurance and estate documents, it doesn't happen. It doesn't always happen. Okay. So now is a wonderful time to be talking about this. What is it that you want, to see happen upon your passing? What kind of life insurance do you need? Do you want term just to get you the coverage? Do you want to explore some permanent so you can potentially build cash value during your lifetime? Do you just need like a whole life because you're older and just want to make sure you have permanent insurance to pay for everything? I can help you, guide you, make sure you're exploring all the best options, and then get what you need in place. So follow me, BrittanyCastro.me. That's where you'll see all my information. You could follow me on Instagram. I do tend to do a lot of things like this, talk about financial literacy content. I love to educate. I love to teach people, be a resource for people. And then definitely schedule your life insurance call so we can talk further and just make sure you're all set up. And look, also, it's very cool because sometimes you're going to have a great policy and I'll just say, yep, this is great. Keep it going, and that's a nice confirmation as well. So I really appreciate Latina Professionals for having me today on this live stream, LinkedIn Live. I appreciate all of you being here. Jessica Kimberly, the other LinkedIn user, which I don't see her name, and everybody else watching this replay. I hope to connect with you soon. Definitely come over, schedule a time to connect with me. I'm Brittany Castro, wishing you a wonderful holiday season, all the financial success, happiness, and ease that you want and deserve. And just know there are good, trusted professionals out there who will help you. So if you're not working with one of those, go find them, because they're out there. There's wonderful people out there who are going to do good work for you. I'm one of them. If not me, go find someone else who is the best fit. But I'm pretty dang good. So hope to talk to you soon. All right, everybody. Bye.